Hello and welcome to part 2 of this week's, which is February the 25th, 2015, second part of this week's comic book review. In this video I will review all the DC comics I picked up for this week. If you're interested in the non-DC comics, I reviewed all of those in part 1, so please feel free to watch that one if you're not interested in what will turn out to be a lot of Batman stuff this week. So, moving on, I started with a book I don't usually pick up, Secret Origins, number 10. As you can see from the cover, this one tells the origin story of Batgirl, or the origin of the new Batgirl, kind of post-Killing Joke. We also get 2 more stories, but I'll get to them after I describe the Batgirl Secret Origin story. So this is the story of Barbara's recovery, of how Barbara got out of the wheelchair, and it also ties in directly with the current Batgirl story arc, which involves a doppelganger of sorts of Barbara, who is kind of making a mess of Barbara's life. This story tells how we see the inner monologue of a Barbara Gordon. I'm not going to say which one, but a Barbara Gordon, going over how she was always Batgirl, how she was physically always Batgirl, mentally she was always Batgirl, ethically, morally, emotionally she was always Batgirl. She was always pushing and fighting and trying to help others. And then this book ends in a way that directly connects to the ending of the last issue of Batgirl. I'm not going to spoil exactly how, but I think it's done very well. And it's you can kind of see it from a mile away, but it's interesting nevertheless. The biggest clue I really want to leave for it is if you watch Black Mirror, the British anthology science fiction show, and you've seen the Christmas special, White Christmas, it's reminiscent to some of the technology in that episode with the computer stuff. I don't want to talk about it much more than that, but I think it was very well done, very interesting little story. And you get 2 more in this book. You also get the Secret History of Secret Origin, of Firestorm, which is basically just an abridged version of the entire Firestorm story since the New 52. So you get a recap of just how Jason was a nerd and Ronnie was a jock in the same high school, and the whole yin-yang opposites thing. Then we see them become Firestorm and learn how to use their powers. We go through them joining the Justice League until we reach the current day, basically, of the current Firestorm run. Nothing really new here, nothing revealed, so to speak, but not badly done. Very quick, tight recap of the Firestorm story so far. And the last story we get is Poison Ivy, Secret Origins. This begins with a very heavy Monsanto analog, which I appreciate, kind of the metaphor tying into real life whole thing. And with Poison Ivy and Monsanto, it's a story that kind of writes itself. It's very well realized. And I really like the art style in this book. It's very kind of toned down, muted, earthy colors, but you still get the bright reds and stuff. There's one page in particular that I really like, just this kind of this full page of just Poison Ivy enjoying the nature. Very good coloring and just art in this story. Probably my favorite one out of the 3 in this book. If you're not interested in any of these characters, I can't really recommend it. And these are all really short stories. None of them really say anything new, but I mean, if you just want another Batgirl story, if you're wondering, just a quick recap on Firestorm, if you're watching Flash and want to know about the character in the comics, this is a pretty good place to catch up on him. And it's a good Poison Ivy story for what it's worth. Next up, we have Future's End, issue 53. No, 43, sorry, issue 43. We begin with Superman waking up in a crater, and it's revealed he has a conversation with Lois. He reveals he still has some beef with Batman because of stuff that happened during the war. And then we catch up kind of with Batman Beyond and his group. So we have Tim Drake here talking with Plastique. They end up finding Coil and Key. Those are their names, right? Yeah, Coil and Key. I remember them for once. And forming a big group as they fight off the Plastique android that's in the building with them. There's actually a really good bit they do with it's kind of a who's on first routine with Dick and Robin, because they're asking about Plastique's well, Tim Drake is there, and people know Tim Drake as Robin, not as Red Robin, so they do a thing with like Red Robin. Oh, do you mean Robin? Do you mean Dick? It's like, oh yeah, she likes Dick, but it's like this whole kind of who's on first thing, and I enjoyed reading it. I thought it was a pretty done bit for what it was worth. We then have kind of Batman Beyond reunite with everybody, so getting that group all back together as one kind of distinct, coherent unit. And then by the end of this book, Brainiac decides to take manual control of Manhattan and just pilot it into space, I guess. It's pretty weird, but just out there enough where I can enjoy the concept of it. So, yeah, pretty okay issue. Some entertaining stuff. Moving on to Gotham by Midnight number 4. We begin with a drunk Corrigan at a bar, kind of ranting about the nature of humanity and everything. Kind of Rorschach journally. Again, every time I pick up this book, I just love the facial animation, well, not facial animation, facial expressions of each character. Just really well-drawn stuff. It's very cartoony, very, I guess, animated sort of things, very exaggerated expressions, but I just like the art. I like how it can be kind of very cartoony, but at the same time, the color palette makes everything very dark and solemn. And it's revealed what the ghosts that have been plaguing the first 3 issues and stealing Gotham's children are about. And it's revealed that they are it's a poltergeist, basically, of the Native Americans or the Native Gothamites who were slaughtered. Very kind of typical American sort of story, very romantic sort of thing, the sins of the past coming to fruition in the future. And so these ghosts, this kind of haunting, this poltergeist from the Native Americans, is actually trying to draw out the Spectre to lay judgment on the entirety of Gotham for its sins of genocide, essentially, of just, judging Gotham for the genocide sins of its past. Which is a very interesting twist, because you have the Spectre, who is the avatar of divine judgment, laying judgment on the entire city, on the idea of Gotham as a colony, which is very interesting, very American romantic sort of story. Not where I expected it to go at all, but I'm really pleased it went there. I really like it, and you get a lot of Spectre in this book. There's a really good scene here where you have where is it? Let me find what I'm looking for. I already showed you that whole page of just the Spectre going down, but yeah, it's like reminds me a lot of Pacific Rim. You have like the big poltergeist monster and the giant Spectre is in Gotham City, in the middle of Gotham City fighting it out. So yeah, again, really cool art. that they do with this book, and I really like the angle that they're going for. Next up is still have a little tickle in the back of my throat, obviously. Next up is Gotham Academy, issue number 5. And I have opinions on this book. We start off where we left off last issue with with Olive Silverlock meeting Killer Croc. It's revealed that Killer Croc was sent by her mother, Sybil, to watch over, basically be a guardian angel, make sure she doesn't get in too much trouble. Before he... but he's soon scared away by the threat of being discovered by Max, and he doesn't want to get sent to Arkham. I mean, yeah, who would? So he runs off, and the rest of the issue is Olive basically looking for him, trying to learn more about her mom and her time in Arkham, I guess. Through this whole book, a lot of Max's dialogue is just references to Dungeons and Dragons. She mentions multiple creatures, the gelatinous cube. She mentions getting loot, stuff like that. Just very obviously inspired by kind of tabletop role-playing games, which I enjoyed. We get a bit more of the kind of school drama thing involving a school dance that all the characters go to as part of a ploy to distract everybody and find their way and find Killer Croc, who's hiding somewhere on the campus. And then it gets a little bit Twilighty as we discover that that mysterious guy, the mysterious handsome guy that was looking out for Olive, is a man-bat. He's infected with the Langstrom virus, and he's essentially a vampire. So they're getting really Twilight. Not as bad as Twilight. I mean, not as, cringeworthy, but that sort of, mythical creature. Are vampires mythical? I don't know. Legendary creature, I guess, watching over a normal girl. They eventually find Killer Croc and have a talk with him, and I really like this panel they have. Killer Croc's telling his story. We don't hear the full story, but we see the ending of it, where he says, "And I threw a rock at him," which of course is a direct reference to Batman the Animated Series. There's an episode where all the villains are basically playing poker and telling stories of how they almost got Batman, and Killer Croc's story is just, "I threw a rock at him," and, well, by the end of the episode we learn something. Anyway, I just enjoyed that little reference to that, and to be honest, I wasn't really enjoying this book. I mean, it's okay, but I wasn't really feeling it. I was thinking, this is probably my last issue of Gotham Academy. Not that it's bad, it's just not for me, and I'm not really, it's just not not for me, and I'm not getting anything from it. But then the last page of this book is this really cool looking just illustration of Batman. He finds that all the kids hanging out with Killer Croc, and there's just such a great illustration, and I do like the art in this book, but we're finally seeing Batman, and it's such a cool drawing, and it's like, oh man, I gotta read. Just to see where this goes. Like, this picture of Batman is going to make me spend $3 on the next issue of this. It's just so good. I want to rip it out and make it a poster or something. Just a very good illustration. I really enjoy it. So I'm probably going to be picking up the next issue, but yeah, I'm starting to kind of get the opinion that I'm kind of forcing myself through this. It's not that I don't like it. It's very well done. It's just not what I'm interested in reading. But I'm going to have to read the next issue to find out what happens with that really cool Batman. Speaking of really cool Batman, our next comic is Arkham Manor, number 5. We begin with Batman in the asylum, fighting off the Spider, who's been killing or maiming a lot of the other Arkham patients. And what I really like about the style in this book is that it's the line work, just the kind of drawing itself is kind of grotesque. It has these weird spindly proportions, but the coloring is almost like what I can basically get. The feeling I get is that it's like if somebody combined Frank Miller kind of line work and just kind of mood and grit, but in the universe of the 60s Batman with all the color and and kind of cartoonish just proportions and I mean it's like a really gritty Adam West Batman is kind of the feeling I get from the art style here, and I really am enjoying it. Just I really like the style they're going for in this book artistically, with the kind of the grotesque, gritty Batman, but with the very bright, saturated color scheme. I just really, really like what they're doing with this book. And there are just some, going with the grotesque, just some freakish moments. The spider inmate eventually bites off his own tongue because he's, you know, certifiably insane. There's a reason he's in an insane asylum. And that's just like, this book is kind of creepy. It's kind of unnerving. You get that feeling a lot. We also have the Bat Paddy Wagon. Kind of this really kind of Paddy Wagon looking Batmobile, which I enjoy. And then the last few pages of this book are Batman leaving the asylum to look for escaped convicts, and I guess that's where the story is going, is Batman kind of reining in anybody who escaped during the events of the past few issues, which I'm looking forward to. This is my favorite issue of the book so far. Not that I haven't enjoyed the other ones, but like just I really like the style seemed to finally come together for me, and I really enjoyed it. Plus, it had the most Batman in it, which probably contributed a lot to me enjoying the book. But yeah, just if you've been iffy on Arkham Manor, I'd start with this one. Just stylistically, aesthetically, very, very pleasing to me. I really enjoyed this single issue a lot. Next up, only 2 comics left. We got Batman Eternal, number 47. And if I'm correct, this is the penultimate issue of Batman Eternal. The next issue is the last one, if I'm correct. I could be wrong about that. It might be 2 more issues. But we're very, very much nearing the end. But I really like the first thing. The art style of this book just struck me. It took me a while to kind of place like this art reminded me of something. Definitely reminded me of something else, and I was trying to place it. And there's this one panel where it's like it just clicks, like that's the art style. This is what this art is reminding me of. But I'll get to that when I get to that panel. Story-wise, we have Julia go out of the cave and confront Catwoman, and her disguise is kind of like a bat Rorschach from Watchmen. She's like a kind of a Rorschach-y style mask, gets into a fight with Catwoman, trying to ask her what's going on, and Catwoman reveals to her that all the rogues, the Batman's villains rogues gallery, have access to unlimited funds and are buying a bunch of stuff. And then we get to the panel where the art thing clicked for me. It reminds me of the codec calls from Metal Gear Solid. Like that's what this art reminds me of. Like I saw this issue, this one panel, and I just thought, oh my god, Batman's making a call to Otacon. Like I read that panel in that voice. I usually read Batman in Kevin Conroy's voice, but this one panel I read as David Hayter, just because of the art style. So yeah, it's like this whole book is done in codec vision, but with more color, obviously. So Julia eventually returns to the cave with the information she got to Catwoman, and she basically assembles the Bat family, sends them each to handle a single rogue. So we have Scarecrow here, being handled by Batwing. We have Clayface being handled by Red Robin, and we have Joker, Bluebird being on top of Mr. Freeze, and Mr. Freeze seems the villains have all these plans, and they don't seem like evil. Scarecrow's is like the most directly harmful, it seems. Clayface just wanted to be in a Batman movie, and it looks like Mr. Freeze's plan is Edward Scissorhands. And then we have Batgirl, who's going up against Joker's daughter in the funhouse where the Killing Joke happened. We also have Red Hood go up against Red Hood keep an eye on Bane, who's turned himself into a robot. Meanwhile, in the Batcave, somebody has snuck into the Batcave and released Hush, and we don't find out who snuck into the Batcave, but I have an idea of who it might be. Kind of one villain introduced since the New 52, who I think would make sense, has this grudge against Batman and wants stuff about legacies and sons and stuff. There's one line Hush says involving an only child syndrome, if that's a clue. But yeah, definitely picking up speed as we reach the end. And I really like this issue. Just mainly the art style. Really like the art style, even if it is very Metal Gear Solid Kodak Hall. And I like the team finally kind of splitting up. We're seeing what all the rogues are doing, and reaching the end. We're reaching the point where everything is coming together, and it's coming together very well. And last for this week, we have Batman number 39 of Endgame. I think too this is the penultimate issue of Endgame, and then the next month we will see the last issue of this story arc. Maybe it says in the book. I'm trying to find the last page. Yes, to be concluded next month. So this is the penultimate issue. And we begin with Batman in the Court of Owls, asking them for help. He has the idea that the chemical in Joker's spine that seems to give him immortality is the same chemical that the Talons use to keep on reviving themselves, and the Court of Owls says, kind of, we use a corrupted version. The Joker's version is more pure somehow. And they're really no help at all, so Batman brings the roof down on them. We then see the Joker, after a bit, we see the Joker sneak into the Batcave, and he goes too far. He just does something. I don't even want to show you what he does. It goes too far, in my opinion. Like, not too far as in I'm going to stop reading the book, but just... he hurts Alfred. Like, Alfred's one of my favorite characters, if not my favorite character in the Batman comic books. He's just kind of, the moral compass, and Joker does something to Alfred, and it looks really serious. And it really hurts me, right in the chest area, right in that organ that does all the blood things. Heart, right in the heart, right in the guts, right in the feeling. So, yeah, definitely pulling all the stakes out for this story arc. Then Joker leaves the cave, and he steals a bunch of the trophies in Batman's cave for a Joker parade. He taunts Batman, saying, well, there's only one option now. You got to get my spinal fluid. That's the only chance you have at stopping me. And so Batman gets a plan together, which involves joining the Bat family with the Rogues Gallery, kind of the Batman plus the villains against the Joker for one last all-out Hail Mary assault. And that is where we end the main story of this issue, with all the villains and Bat family working together as Batman tries to get to the Joker, and the Joker having one last plan up his sleeve. The backstory for this, or the back half backstory of this, is the final part of the story that's been going on with the escaped Arkham inmates And the Doctor, each of the inmates has their own story about the Joker, their own Joker origin story, and in this issue we find out that the Doctor herself has a Joker origin story, that she's publishing a book, a kind of tell-all about the Joker, and she reveals one of the Joker's origin stories, which may be the real one, that he's just a kid who was bullied and orphaned and passed through multiple foster homes and was always just a little bit smarter than everybody else and caused a lot of trouble and chaos. But maybe that's not the real backstory either, as she gets a visit from the Joker who reveals maybe not at all is as it seems. And this ends on a very, very kind of bad, dark note. This ends with a very kind of just makes you shudder ending. Like, wow, Joker's fucked up. Very fucked up ending to this. Or at least implied, very fucked up ending. Really, again, one of the best books being published. Scott Snyder is just rocking it on Batman, as he has been for the past 39 issues now. So if you're not reading Batman, like, pick up all of it. It's all very good. And that is it for this week. Released the DC Comics. Again, part 1 is full of the comics I picked up this week that weren't published by DC. We have Spider-Gwen, issue number 1. We have the epilogue to Spider-Verse, Ody-C number 3, and Adventure Time, if you're interested in any of those books. If not, okay, thank you for watching this one. If you did make it to this part, thank you for watching. If you like this video, please rate it, give it a thumbs up. If you want more of these every week or so, please subscribe. And you know, that makes it very easy for you to watch them. They're just popped right onto your YouTube homepage. And if you have any thoughts, opinions, comments, anything at all, feel free to leave them down below or message me privately. Yeah, thanks for watching, and hope to talk to you about more comics and stuff next.